Welcome back again. Today we will discuss experimenting with methodology. Methodology doesn't have an exact explanation with each student. As I said earlier, students from different cultures react differently to a lesson plan. One class may like your lesson plan, while others may hate it. Because of this, it's very important that you experiment with methodology or blend the methodology together. To do this, you have to find out what are the learning blocks for each class, their wants and needs. Let's take for example a class in South Korea. Koreans are very proud of their written language. Teaching pronunciation with their country's own alphabet will have a very negative reaction. One reason is the writing. If you were to tell the students to write only the sounds you speak, you may get a student saying you are crazy because they have to write it in a way which doesn't sound like what you said. For example, you can say the word beach, but they will write it as beachy. When you explain that they need to drop the long E sound in the spelling in order to pronounce words better, they will think you don't know what you are talking about. Some will even tell you that you are wrong. While they are correct about the written language having the long E sound, they miss the point about dropping the E sound for pronunciation purposes. However, in Vietnam, Thailand and Cambodia, explaining pronunciation with the silent way and the way mentioned above, the students understand and can learn pronunciation easier. You must be able to change the methods you use in order to effectively teach the students. New teachers don't understand that they must consistently read books and learn new things to teach. For every rule, there is an explanation, and in many cases there is an exception to the rule. Other teachers want to be handed lesson plans along with handouts because they don't understand how to plan a class. This becomes frustrating for a new teacher. The best advice I can give to a new teacher is to remember what teachers did when they were in school. Remember what you liked and what you did not like about them. Find several ways of teaching, and if one doesn't work, then use another way until you find one that does work. Combine or blend methods in order to help students have fun, increase attention, and learn easier. Do not think because you are the teacher and a student asks you a question or requests that you change your approach. You don't have to. If a student says they don't understand, ask them what they don't understand. Listen and make the changes by adding what you think could be an easier way. Take risks if you think it can help the learner. Be positive and listen to other teachers as to how to teach. Be a team player. If one teacher needs help, then give them advice, but ask for advice if you are not certain about something. Most of all, keep a daily journal, write down what you taught for the day and see if it worked. If it didn't, then change it next time around. Know what techniques you used, what worked and what didn't work. You will find this very helpful. Blended learning. Blended learning is very important to teaching ESL. What this means is the students learn from different sources. Some are from books, the whiteboard, games, video and audio material. Each one of these areas benefits the student in different ways. If you teach from a book grammar, the students will learn grammar and writing, but audio and video lessons will help their listening and speaking skills. The games will help them practice and recycle previous lessons. Don't think games are a waste of time. They can be used to help students practice what they learned. Space the different learning cycles during different parts of the week in order for the students to space out and recycle what they have learned. Have the students interact with each other while they learn. This way one student can ask a question while the other student answers it. The students will learn faster than if you only speak to them. Content-based learning. Content-based learning joins language learning with numerous amounts of content. The two are taught together. Since students will learn to speak and write in English, they must learn English to be able to study, for example, history or science. They must learn English in order to study content from another subject. This forces students to learn vocabulary and improve their listening skills. This is where daily lesson plans come into effect. You can teach grammar one day, speaking 2 days, listening and vocabulary one day. You must give as much content to the students to make them the best students you possibly can. I was given the task of teaching some physics students English. I was given a book and told to teach from it. For a week I pored over all the geometrical terms, formulas, and everything. I then went to teach the class. I found out I was mistaken in half of my material and the students knew all about what I was teaching, what they wanted to learn was how to do presentations. Why did I tell you this? I forgot to ask them on day one what they wanted to learn. It would have saved me a headache and some embarrassment. During a few of my presentations, I mentioned a few things about America: the electronic gate, a military-style water heater, and a motion detector light, amongst a few things. They were so fascinated by the descriptions and how they operated that they asked me to get photos of the items so they could see what the mechanisms looked like. To my surprise, within a week, after seeing the pictures, they had made blueprints on how to make an electric gate opener with instructions on how it would operate with a remote control. They explained to me how it worked. Even though I basically understood the operations, I was lost in the technical terms they were using. They spoke English well enough to explain to me how it worked. The point is this: the students were so fascinated by science that they were able to understand and explain things in scientific terms and in English. This made their learning much easier and more fun for them. Their vocabulary was perfect and would learn new terms quickly. Another class I took a group of students from one class to a clothing store so the employees of the store could practice their English. The students needed to know how to ask for items in a store, and the employees needed to know how to answer questions and explain to the students about the product. It was a perfect combination. The more content that is presented during a lesson, the more the students will learn. I blended listening, speaking, writing, vocabulary, and grammar all into one class. The students learned a lot in the class. To make this easier to understand, again from the book ESL/EFL Teaching Principles for Success gives 9 rules to teach content, which are: use visuals and realia. Always try to move from the concrete to the abstract. Use gestures and body language. Speak clearly and pause often, but don't slow speech down unnaturally. Say the same thing in different ways, paraphrase. Write key words and ideas down on the board. Use overheads and charts whenever appropriate. Make frequent comprehension checks. Have students explain main concepts to one another working in pairs or small groups. They can do this in their first languages. Above all, keep oral presentations or reading assignments short. Collaborative activities are more effective than lectures or assigned readings. Task-based learning. With task-based learning, the students have to use English to master a problem or complete a task. This is where games and role-playing come into learning English. The students can play a game to help them understand what they have learned. Role-play to recycle past lessons and to make their learning easier. One example of this is to play a game, in English, and the first student who can answer the questions in English is the winner. Another example would be role-playing, where the students pretend to go to a business and order dinner in English in order to pass an exam. One task was mentioned in above. I blended 2 classes together. One class was given the task to shop and ask questions about products. The other class was to answer the questions and help the students. After about 2 weeks of instruction, I normally would put the class through the task of role-playing. The students would review lessons and then prepare a small dialogue to speak. With this plan, they were reviewing past lessons, talking about how to ask and answer questions, writing, speaking, and listening. Many different learning tools placed into one lesson. Whatever you do, the task rules must be fully explained, and the students have to pass these rules in order to pass the task to show they have mastered the course or the class lesson requirement or goal of the teacher. That is all the time we have for today. In the next episode, we will discuss age groups and methodologies. Thank you again.